Today on the Star Trek Critic Final Mission, it starts with Wesley performing Picard maneuver number 1. Jean-Luc says, "You know, Wesley, your mom is right. This show is sexist, and now that you're an adult, we're replacing you with a hot girl." As usual, each episode is graded like a school project, starting with 100 points, taking away 1 point for each error, and still photos used extensively to prevent copyright claims because they suck. And all the while I make snarky commentary like the guy behind you in the theater that won't shut up. The last time you heard this music was when Wesley got promoted. The next point is lost since it shouldn't be this hard for a child genius to get into Starfleet. Another point lost since he's starting as a freshman. The Enterprise should have college courses on the ship for him to take and he would go in as a junior, but this monster ship in space has nothing. All this space and no college courses. What a waste of taxpayer money. Strangely, this is the only time Wesley goes on an away mission. Pentaris 5 sounds kind of redundant, and it seems like all planets in this show are going to have a 5 in them. 1 point lost since there is no way these people can eat. I'm sure she is a wonderful person, but her eyes are following the teleprompter, so -1 point. Riker performs Picard maneuver number 2. Star Trek directors love extras crossing before the actor comes in. A shuttle this small has no room for an engine, so -1 point. Geordi performs Picard maneuver number 3. Another point lost since there is no way Geordi checked out this ship thoroughly. This is the awkward fist bump handshake maneuver. 1 point lost here. You don't ask the negotiator to fly the ship. He should have brought a full crew. This is a rare look at 90s computer graphics. Ensign Allenby, the hot girl that replaced Wesley, says I number 1. Durgo's shuttle is a piece of garbage. Durgo thinks of his favorite TV show. Now he wants to know if Picard and Wesley can read? That's weird. I will have to take a point here. Picard should have also taken a diplomatic assistant with him. Wesley is just there to observe. Wesley says I number 2. For reference, this is about the same distance as Mercury is from the Sun. So the planets and moons in this system are really close together. This moon is really hot. That comes out to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. I say screw it, just keep going. Look closely, the door won't shut. And in their switch of positions, Picard pulls off part of the ship. This is almost 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. They're about to melt. Now they copy their favorite Star Wars movie. 300 years in the future, people still pray. Picard's like, ew, this is what California looks like outside the city. This sucks. Wait, am I on Nimbus 3, the planet of galactic peace? Looks like Paramount is still renting the land and put us here because they're too cheap to rent someplace better. And am I hallucinating, or is that a laughing Vulcan on a horse? 1 point lost for opening credits 6 minutes into the show. Wesley performs Picard maneuver number 4 and 5. It may be 131 degrees, but it's time for a drink. 1 point lost for this object, which might be camera equipment. Picard is so upset there's no food and water, he calls Durgo Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
And don't call me honey.
Don't call me Tiny.
Durgo states the obvious. Picard says, that sucks because I'm parched. The three amigos look off into the distance and think, damn, this California desert really does suck. Back on the Enterprise, Data talks about his ED problem. Beverly asks Geordi if he has a better idea. Who put her in charge? Worf says, I number 3. Of course, Beverly's face hides the fact there's only one set of doors on the turbolift. They didn't calculate how far away the mountains were, so -1 point. And they didn't calculate how fast the moon turned, so they could wait until nightfall, so -1 point. This isn't always true. There might be cannibals in the mountains. Wesley stands up for Captain Picard. Yes! The first thing they do is take off in a different direction than the arrow. This scene looks vaguely familiar. I know I've seen it before.
Water. Oil. Room service.
Incredible. Durgo falls right where there's a camera in the ground. This just gives Wesley a chance to tell off Durgo again. Picard stands on a 1-foot mound. Does he really think he can see farther now? In reality, Patrick Stewart just has a king of the mountain complex. Wesley says, I'm not sure, sir, but I think the narrator's going to take a point because we're both standing on tire tracks and don't seem to notice. Shout out to the costuming staff. The salt deposits on his shirt are exactly what will happen. Now they're thinking, wait a minute, maybe there's something in the mountains that's going to eat us. Picard's like, Well, we're screwed no matter which way we go, so let's just go get eaten up. They walk through a human-sized entrance and see the steps, and the first thing they ask, maybe this cave is formed by water or lava. Wesley rats out Durgo like the little snitch that he is. He's getting ready for Starfleet Academy. Picard says, I was going to share it with you, and then stashes it away. Beverly gives her rescue team a briefing. Deanna comes in to perform her job as counselor, since that's what she's paid to do, and Beverly says, Deanna, go mind your own business. I'm going to talk to Guinan and Tin Ford instead like we all do. They always blow off Troy, and what's worse, she has less than 5 lines in this show, so -1 point. And -1 point for the catsuit. Worf says I number 4. This is almost the Riker maneuver. As with all Star Trek rescue missions, something goes terribly wrong. Didn't see that coming. Riker is so upset he performs Picard maneuver number 6. 1 point lost for not considering putting a new thruster on the barge. Worf says I number 5. They could all die of radiation poisoning right now, so let's have one possibly final drink. Riker is rising behind Allenby like the creepy old man that he is. Allenby says I number 6. The 3 amigos squeeze through a tight crevasse. Then they come upon a fountain that looks like an erupting phallic symbol. That's not a coincidence. Just what kind of a place is this? Durgo tries to get the water, but the automatic Horgon comes up and blocks him, because this place is for couples only. Durgo fires at the Horgon because it reminded him he hasn't gotten laid in almost 10 years. Maybe that would change if he took a shower once in a while. The Sentinel comes to make sure there are only couples in the party room. 1 point lost because that is a stuntman, not Wesley. Wesley and Durgo argue religion. Dresky says Picard is going to die. Let's have a drink. Wesley says we only have a drink if there are 5 eyes or 5 Picard maneuvers. Picard says, Durgo, shut the hell up. Picard says, Wesley, you need to go beat the living shit out of Durgo. Did you notice Durgo likes to dress up like Obi-Wan Kenobi? According to the stardate, about 2 hours have passed, and that's not enough time, so -1 point. 1 point lost for towing the radioactive ship. They have it out of the planet's orbit, so they could easily nudge it from a safe distance when they need to. Beverly stands at an angle to show off her profile. Isn't she the one that called the show sexist? What's happening now? She's practicing to distract Picard from her son's replacement. According to an IMDb post, he should be saying pascals, not metric tons. I'll take their word for it, so -1 point. 1 point lost for never looking for an off switch. Another point lost because the salt stains on Wesley's shirt are now gone. Remember this, the Sentinel only attacked the phaser, not Durgo. Wesley's like, isn't that a phaser from Star Trek 3? Wesley tries standing up to Durgo, but doesn't get very far. Of course, it gets Durgo killed because this is a couples-only hideaway, and Durgo is sneaking in like a creepy old single male. Wesley hears the screaming and knows eventually he'll have to look.
It's like squishing a spider under a book.
This time the Sentinel killed Durgo, saying, I'm sick of your shit. -1 point for a first officer's log talking down to the audience like we forgot everything during the commercial break. How do none of them know a body in motion stays in motion in 0 gravity? They're scientists on a spaceship. It's their job to know that. 1 point lost here. Geordi needs to stay in engineering. He wastes too much time going back and forth between there and the bridge. As usual, they clear the asteroids right when the radiation becomes lethal. That never happens in Star Trek. They have cleared the asteroids. Data says, that means we all pooped. Riker says, Data, let it go. Riker is now thinking, hey, I'm in command now, and Wesley got replaced with a hot girl. Should we go look for them? Nah. Wesley says, I learned this by watching Dr. McCoy on Star Trek. If this was filmed today, it would be way, way different. Wesley says, Captain, I had a vision that Tasha from an alternate universe came to our universe to the past, had sex with a Romulan, and had a baby who grew up and tried to take over the Vulcan Empire, and you died and came back as an android. Picard says, Wesley, you've got to stop smoking the good stuff with the Indians. Wesley gives a kind of inspirational speech you normally hear on an episode of Lassie. Another point lost for another unnecessary Oh no, it's a first officer's log. But it's still not necessary. Here is Riker maneuver number 2. Beverly has given up. Worf is behind her thinking, this might be a good time to read her Klingon love poetry. I might get lucky. You have to go through the entire show before you learn what the name of the moon is. Is that Captain Picard only knows one French song. Wesley states the obvious, then they pass the time by quoting their favorite Star Trek lines.
Don't you remember?
Or can't you remember? The hell I can't.
Picard got the line wrong. Picard regrets he won't have time to tell Wesley all those good hiding places at the Academy where you can get laid. Then he says, "Look out for the groundskeeper. I think he's a Martian." Picard says, "I envy you, Wesley Crusher. The girls at the Academy will trade sex for good test scores, and you are a genius. You're going to get laid all the time. Just don't tell your mom, though. She'll say that's sexist." Picard finally tells Wesley the deep, dark, secret truth.
I am your father.
The showdown begins. Wesley and the spurting phallic symbol. Wesley convinces the Sentry he's not a single male invading the swing club, but part of a couple, and he is allowed to get the water. Yes! Of course, water in caves like this are usually saturated with magnesium, and it's a total laxative. Wesley's gonna learn that the hard way. He's gonna make Picard learn the hard way too, and he's got a broken leg. He can't get up and run to a corner. It turns out Beverly is also religious. Wesley wants to know how they found him. She says, "We followed the smell. You really shouldn't drink magnesium-rich water if you can't make it to a bathroom." Picard says, "Wesley, did you just give me a natural laxative when you know I have a broken leg?" And Wesley says, "Yeah, I did. You smell like shit." The final point is lost for not giving Will Wheaton a backdoor pilot episode at Starfleet Academy. Trekkies would get a good look at the Academy. If it didn't get picked up, no big deal. Or Will Wheaton would have an option for his own show if his movie career didn't go as planned. Unfortunately, his film career didn't take off, but it was time for the character of Wesley to move on, and we will see him again. The beautiful Mary Conert was on Highway to Heaven and will be back on Trek 2 more times. The late Kim Hamilton was also beautiful under all that makeup. She has 80 screen credits, including Leave It to Beaver, The Twilight Zone, and Buck Rogers. Nick Tate is Australian and starred in Space 1999 and 120 other screen credits, including Holiday Island, Hook, and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Final mission, where we say goodbye to Wesley and give him a good send-off, gets a score of 74. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, that subscribe button, and I'll see you again next week.